Hi, it's Mr. Landis. Today we're going to be creating some logos using a tool called Pixlr E. So let me go ahead and let me just do a Google search for Pixlr. Now Pixlr does come in a few different versions. There's Pixlr E, Pixlr M, and Pixlr X. We're going to use Pixlr E because that is the most professional version, and it is actually very, very much like Adobe Photoshop. So if you learn Pixlr E really well, and then later on you want to switch to using Photoshop, I think you're going to find that to be a really, really easy transition. And vice versa. If you're used to using Photoshop, but you're switching to Pixlr E, that's going to be really easy because most things are the same and they're in the same place. All the major stuff anyway. Now, when you load up Pixlr, it's going to try to offer you all these templates. I'm going to ignore all of those and create something new because I want to start with something completely blank. And the first thing it's going to ask us for is a name for our project. So I'm going to call this logos. It's going to ask us for the size of our project. Now, in order to get a nice big area, I want you to be in the habit of thinking in terms of how big a piece of paper is, a piece of A4 paper. And to get that, what you're going to be looking for is about 3,500 by 2,400 pixels. So 3,500 by 2,400. And that's pretty big. But what that's going to enable us to do is that it's going to enable us to create a big enough file that if we print it out on paper, it'll be high enough quality to look good. And here where it says background, I'm going to choose a white background because I want it to be just like an ordinary white piece of paper. So I've got my name, 3,500 by 2,400 pixels, and background is set to white. So let me go ahead and hit create. And here we go. Here's my white piece of paper ready for me to start creating a logo. Now, usually logos include some text, and I'm going to be creating a logo for a fizzy drink called Slake, S-L-A-K-E. That's going to be the brand name I'm going to be working with today. And so first of all, to add some text to this, I'm going to use the text tool. That is the letter T over here in my tools palette. So I click that. I click an area on the screen and I go ahead. It says, do you want to add a new text layer? Yes, I do. I'm going to go ahead and it starts off with some starter text, what we call lorem ipsum, but I'm going to delete that and just type in my name, Slake. So there is my brand name. And right now that's pretty boring. It's just the name. But let me go ahead and see if I can change the font. So I go back to that text tool. I click on my words and I have the choice of a lot of fonts in here. Now, because Pixlr is what we call a freemium tool, that means that we get to use it for free, but they're going to constantly offer us upgrades and updates and try to get us to pay for a better version. All of these ones with orange next to it, I won't be able to use those if I try. It's going to try to get me to buy something. So I'm going to ignore those and try to find a font that matches the feeling I want. So for Slake, I kind of would like for it to have a cool and relaxed feeling to it. So I'm going to look for a font that matches that cool, relaxed feeling. Let's say I like this one, East Tone. That has kind of a nice, relaxed feeling to me. Okay, so I'm going to choose the East Tone font. I'm going to change my size. So up here I have size, make that nice and big. All right, that's starting to look kind of cool. For my color, obviously I can choose a new color. So here's my basic sort of text options. Now, what you might want to look into, though, is beyond some of those basics, I want to direct your attention to this Format menu and Styles menu at the top. The Format menu has some more advanced things like letter spacing, will allow me to space my letters further apart, and that can sometimes give your logo a very different feeling, having letters that are really far apart versus letters that can be really crammed in close together. I kind of think for mine, I'm going to go for some spaced out letters. Of course, I have bold, italic, all that good stuff. And then over here under styles, I have some really nice things. So curve may allow, if I turn that on, that can allow me to bend my letters into like a sort of a bendy shape, I suppose. And I have some different options to play with under there. Okay, let me turn that off actually. The outline one is one I use all the time. So oftentimes you'll find that you want to create like a white logo on white paper, but you can't really do that. So if I set my color to white, I wouldn't normally be able to see that, except my outline enables me to have white letters on a white background because I have a black outline. So I use outlines a lot when I do this kind of design. And I can have a thicker or a thinner outline depending on the feeling I'm trying to go for. Okay. And then if you don't like the idea of an outline, you might want to try a shadow instead. Of course, a shadow, let me get a nice black shadow there. A shadow, turn my opacity up. A shadow can really give you that nice, separation from your background. If you don't want to do an outline, a shadow can be a good option instead. I'm going to stick with an outline because I really like the way that looks. So that could be one of my logos. Now, in addition to the words themselves, a lot of logos have shapes in them. If you think about Amazon and the little arrow underneath the Amazon logo, oftentimes a shape, or sorry, the words is not enough. You want to add like a shape to it. So you have a shape tool here, and you have squares. I can add a rectangle. I could add a rounded rectangle. That's not a rounded rectangle. Let me try. We turn my radius up there. There we go. A rounded rectangle, ovals, that kind of thing. But also you have the custom shape option, and there's some really cool extra shapes in here that you could use to give your logo some personality. And again, I'm thinking about that relaxed feeling I'm going for. So I kind of like this shape here that's looks like it has pointy corners and curved corners. I kind of like that. So let me try adding that to my logo. Okay, very good. So I really like that shape, and I'd like to use that as part of my logo, but of course it's on top, and what I'd like to have is have the words on top and have the shape below. So when you get into that kind of situation, you need to pay attention over here to your layers palette, and in the layers palette I can just take my different layers. So I have my words layer here, just says Slake, and I have my shape here. Let me go ahead and just take the words and put it on top. There we go. That's looking pretty good. All right. Let's see, that color is not working for me, so I'm going to choose my shape layer and change that. Again, I want relaxed, so I'm going to go for a nice cool blue. Oop, that didn't work at all. Can I change yeah, there we go. Sorry, I have to do that in the shape tool. So I have to choose the shape tool, go up to the top. There we go. Now, when I want to move things around, that's what the move tool is for. Up here in the top left, I have a move tool, so I can just grab things, move it around. So I'm going to move this on up to the corner. And that's my first logo. And now I can move on and do my second logo. For my second one thing I'd like for you to think about doing is instead of having just one text object for the name, what if I broke it up? What if I had just one text object that was just the letter S? And let's choose a different font this time. Let's go with Hippoletto. That's kind of a cool font. So let's do one text object that's just my S. Put that over here. And let's do a separate text object for the rest of it. That goes L-A-K-E. Very good. Let's make that orange. And so now, since I have two separate text objects, I could do something interesting. Like, let's make the S really nice and big. Let's make the L-A-K-E a little smaller. Again, all these size controls are under, you have to choose the text tool first. Then you can kind of control the size and things. Let's make that smaller. Let's use this rotation handle, that little circle there. I'm going to turn it sideways. And so my Slake logo, I can move this over. Now that's starting to look a little more interesting as a logo. Now it kind of looks like S-Lake, but you get the idea. I can do kind of more creative things by combining multiple text objects together so I can get different effects. And let's go ahead and add a shape to that. Let's add a rounded rectangle to that with a nice big wide radius. And like so. And let's do a color, let's do gray. And then of course I'm going to move that underneath like that. Okay. So now I already have two logo ideas sketched out. And so for you guys on your assignment, I want you to do the same thing with your own brand name. Design a few logos for me. I'd like to see 3 different logos maybe. All right. Now, once you have all 3, you're going to want to save out. So when it's time to save in Pixlr, that bears some discussion. So first of all, I'm going to come up here to File, and I'm going to go to Save. And you have a few different options. You have one option, which is the PNG option. Now, PNG would be great because you could save something out as a PNG, and that's really easy to turn in on Teams or to bring into a PowerPoint presentation. That's a great way to save it if you want to go and take it somewhere else to another program. You also have the PXD option. Now, PXD is that's the native format for Pixlr. So if you want to save something and then open it back up in Pixlr and still have all your layers and still be able to edit and change it and make changes to it, that's what you want, is that PXD. So I'm going to go ahead and save it as a PXD, logos.pxd. I'm going to download that. Okay. And I'm going to save that on my desktop. And from there, I could upload it to Teams and turn it in as part of my work. But because that PXD format is special to Pixlr, no other program will know how to open it. You won't be able to open it with any other programs. Teams, you can turn it in, but it won't give you a preview. You won't be able to see what it is, what's inside of it, without opening it up in Pixlr. So that's why you kind of need, sometimes you need both formats. So maybe I'll go ahead and save out another one as a regular PNG file and download that as well. And that will be a file that I can actually open up and do more things with. Okay, guys, that's going to be it. Please do refer back to this video as needed so that you can see some of these things. Back the video up and check out anything that you missed. But have fun making your logos. I'd like to see 3 different logos that you can, so that you have some different choices later on. All right, thanks very much.